Awesome. All right, let's get started. Well, we are in week 3, or I should say we are in module 3 now of the Side Income Blogging Workshop, and I've had a lot of fun and I want to keep on going. And tonight we're going to talk about how to create your lead magnet. I misspoke last week. I thought we'll be talking about email campaigns this week, but we are actually going to be talking about creating your lead magnet. So this is going to be full of information like we normally do. And I want to invite everyone to make sure that you're heading over to the Side Income Blogging area on the PS Mastermind. It's at mastermind.pushingsocial.com. I also put the links in your emails reminding you of these webinars. And there I'm starting to fill up that area with a lot of bonus training videos that I've put together just to help you understand and actually give you some more tips on how to use some of the tools I talk about on this webinar. So hopefully you're finding that information. Look under the bonus training link on the dashboard for the Side Income Blogging Workshop area, and you'll be all set. So let me check everything here. I just want to make sure I'm recording okay. Okay, it looks like we're ready to go. So tonight we're going to talk about how to create your lead magnet. So the first thing is that, as you know, we're going to keep going with the system we've been doing in the past, which is get ready, get set, and go. And that's how I split up what I'm going to be talking about tonight. So let's just do a quick review. In Module 1, we learned that there's 3 types of side income products. You have your information products, which are basically, I will show you how to do it. Then you have your products, your traditional tangible products, and the products answer the question by saying this will do it for you, and services are all about I will do it for you. In module number 2, we talked about creating your product. Now is really filled with a lot of nitty-gritty details about how to get your product created. So the types of products we talked about was text, which is your PDF, special reports and downloads. We talked about videos with screencasts and live video. And then we talked about services, which are benefit focused, and a lot of times they're supported by information products. So you'll often see someone who's offering a service also offer an information product to complement that service, which is a smart move. And in module 3, we're going to talk about how to create your lead magnet. So the first question is, what is a lead magnet? And I'm not sure if this is the first time you've heard it explained this way, or have you heard me talk about it, but I am a big fan of lead magnets. I also call them from time to time expert products. And what they are is basically a trade. Okay, I'll give you something if you give me your contact info. A lead magnet is oftentimes just a special report or a video that you offer to your audience, and you say, listen, if I give you this, will you give me your contact info so I can follow up with you in the future in return? Very simple. So why do you need a lead magnet? And I would think that this is an obvious thing, but from looking at the web and going to various people's blogs and websites, I realize that not a lot of people are using a lead magnet to generate leads for their business. And if you don't have any leads, you can't have any side income. So why do you need a lead magnet? Number 1, you need email addresses. You really need to get that contact information, that email address, so you can follow up with your readers in the future. And it's also getting very hard to get into people's inbox these days. So if you're just asking people to subscribe, for example, look on your blog, and if you just have in your sidebar at the top, it just says subscribe, and it has an email field with a subscribe button underneath it, I can pretty much guarantee you that you're not getting a whole lot of people clicking on that, because no one wants another newsletter. So you're going to have to really convince them to give you their follow-up or their contact information. And a lead magnet helps you do that. The third thing is that you need to demonstrate your expertise. People want to know, do you know what you're talking about? Can you explain your expertise? And the lead magnet is a terrific way of starting that process and demonstrating your expertise. And your future customers will want to know what's it like being a customer. They want to know that, hey, listen, if I work with Simon, will he explain things clearly? Will he be straightforward? Will he give a lot of value? Will he be reliable? And all of those questions you can answer in your lead magnet just by the care that you put into the lead magnet and creating it and the value you put into it. And you need a step between a person being a reader and being a customer. And that is actually kind of a big gap. A reader acts differently than a customer does, okay? And you really need a way to help a person transition from that role of being passive to an active role of seeking you out and seeking out your products. So here I have my continuum. So if you think about it, Kimberly, if you have your people start off as strangers before they actually get to into your blog. And when they get to your blog, they make that transition to reader. And what you're trying to do is keep them there long enough for you to be able to make a offer to them. And that first offer should probably be for your lead magnet. And once they get that lead magnet, that provides that transition over to being a customer. Okay, so that's why you need to have a lead magnet. And that's why I hope you'll commit tonight to creating one within the next 5 days so you can have that tool at your disposal on your blog. Like I said, it's essential for you to have a lead magnet, for you to gain that email audience, build that email list, and be able to make that transition over to earning that side income from your blog. So let's get set. Let's talk about some of the tools we'll need to kind of pull your lead magnet together. Okay, so the first thing is looking at your lead magnet toolbox is what are your options? Okay, so here are some ideas for your lead magnet, some options you have. You can have a PDF download where you type out something in your Word or your Page software program, or even in Google Docs. You save that as a PDF and you put it up so people can download it. That's a lead magnet. You can have video, a webinar. You can even have podcast audio that you have packaged up and you're going to make available for someone if they give you their email address. You're also going to have a service as a lead magnet. And I've tested this a lot with Pushing Social and it works quite well. And a lot of times you see this as a free consultation. That is a great example of a lead magnet. So you can use a service for that as well. Now we have the next thing that you need is an email autoresponder. Now, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about email autoresponders. When I talk with some of my students and some of my clients about email autoresponders, usually people are kind of afraid of this because it gets a little bit technical, but an email autoresponder is absolutely important. Okay, so your email autoresponder options are out there is MailChimp. You have Aweber, who's an email service provider. You have Constant Contact, and I threw in Infusionsoft. Infusionsoft is not normally in this list because your MailChimp, your Awebers, and your Constant Contacts of the world cater to people who only want to spend $10 a month for their email service. But companies like Infusionsoft or HubSpot, I'm sure you've heard of them, they offer more features and they provide you with a more well-rounded marketing solution. And Infusionsoft, as well as HubSpot, can do some amazing things with your email marketing that you don't necessarily have the capability to do with MailChimp or Aweber or Constant Contact. So I just wanted to throw that in there so you can see the scope of what you can use. The next thing that you need is landing pages. You can't do a lead magnet without having landing pages. And what I mean by that is that your toolkit for landing pages should include a promotional page, basically telling people what they'll get if they give you their email address. Some promotional graphics. We talked last week about creating a cover for your PDF download, or creating an image that represents a video for your video downloads. That's what I mean by promotional graphics. And the third thing is that you need a thank you page. And I'm going to go through each one of these pieces tonight so you can kind of get a clear view and a road ahead of how to actually create this and launch this on your own blog. Okay? So let's dive in and talk about email autoresponders. I think you have your head I'm sure you get your mind kind of wrapped around about what types of lead magnets out there. As a matter of fact, last week we talked about all of the steps you need to take to create a product, and like I will say a little bit later on, a lead magnet is just a mini version of your product. So you probably kind of understand what it takes to pull that together. But your email autoresponders, a lot of times this trips people up. So we'll talk a little bit about that right now. So when you're picking an email responder, you're going through that list that I just gave. Here's what you want to look for. Number one, you want to look for the ability to run an email autoresponder. Now, let me be very specific about this. An email autoresponder is a capability or a feature that allows you to send an email immediately to a person once they sign up on your form. And then automatically it should be able to send a follow-up email an hour later or 2 days later automatically without you having to touch the email software. And it should continue to do this every 2 days or every 3 days. It will look to see if there's another message that you have created, and it'll automatically send that out. That is an email autoresponder. The other option you have out there is that you would actually have to go in and physically send out emails if you wanted to do it on your own. An email autoresponder allows you to put this whole process on autopilot. That's what I mean. And I have to be very specific about that because, for example, MailChimp, they give you a great free option for everything up to 2,000 subscribers, but they don't give you the email autoresponder for free. You actually have to pay $10 a month for that. So just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. The second thing is that you have to have easy to customize templates. You shouldn't have to be a CSS or HTML or a graphic design guru to be able to customize the templates. Also look for WYSIWYG, or what you see is what you get type of templates, and also drag and drop. If you kind of have those features, then it can be very easy for you to create your own templates. You want to look for easy import and export of names. Sometimes you're going to have to import names into your list. Sometimes you want to take the names that are in your list and export them over to someone else. So you just want to make sure that you can do that easily. Now, one thing I do want to tell you about is that all of these email service providers, they are very respectful and they're very vigilant about observing the CAN spam laws. So if you take a list of people and you try to import them into Aweber, for example, Aweber is going to force you to get everyone's permission to email them, okay? And most other email service providers are going to do the exact same thing. That's a good thing. That protects you from getting a CAN spam complaint. And the last I saw, a CAN spam complaint, if you were to be fined, I believe it's $16,000 for every complaint, proven complaint. So you don't want to mess around with that. So don't just import names without asking people's permission, and you might have to do that. So I guess the point there is pick an email service provider that you're going to stick with for a long amount of time, okay? Because that whole process of importing and exporting names can be a pain. You want to look for RSS to email capability. And what this means is that you're looking for the capability of having your email software watch your blog. And whenever you publish a new post, it immediately grabs that post and creates an email with your post's description or the full body of the post in the email and sends it out to your list of subscribers. That's a great capability. It allows you to get your post out to your subscribers without you having to do any extra work. It all happens automatically. And last thing you want to look for is tracking. Does the service provider provide you with some reports on who's opening emails, who's clicking on emails, and which emails are doing the best in terms of their open percentage or their click-through percentage? Now, I've helped you out. All of the people that I mentioned on the prior slide does provide all of these services. So basically, you're just going to have to make your decision based upon, does the service feel right to you, or do they have the templates that you can work with? It's a, that's going to be your own personal aesthetic decision from that standpoint. But all of them have these features. Now, the next thing is, in terms of recommendations, I would say that if you're just starting off, I would ask you to invest in Aweber immediately, because that's most likely going to satisfy your needs during the different phases of your business. When you go from just being one person to actually earning revenue and becoming a little bit larger, you'll stick with Aweber. I stuck with Aweber for 3 years with my current blog, and I've always used Aweber over the last 6 to 7 years because it's been able to meet my needs. And like I said, it's fairly inexpensive. It's about $19 or $20 a month, and of course that grows with the size of your list, or that investment will grow with the size of your list. And if you're making revenue right now, or you're in a position where you want to make sure that your email marketing and your marketing automation is buttoned up before your business starts to grow, Infusionsoft is a good investment of that, but it's not cheap. I believe it's at its lowest level is $199 a month. It can go up to $299 a month, but it's rare that I say this, but Infusionsoft is worth every penny, and so is Aweber for that matter. So those are my two recommendations. And during the Q&A process and during the Q&A section, I'll love to answer any questions that you might have about Aweber or Infusionsoft. So we're cruising tonight because I do want to get to question and answers, and the go section actually is going to be pretty in depth. But we're cruising along tonight. So here we go. So your types of lead magnets, we kind of talked through that, but I'm going to go through a little bit more in depth. Okay. So number one, we have checklists. I think are really great lead magnets. They're easy to produce. White papers, and white papers are basically, if you're in the technical realm or you run a tech company, that industry loves to call their reports white papers because it usually is very in-depth, has very technical information in there, and it's used to show capabilities of the company. So you might, in your industry, you might call them white papers. You have reports, which are basically PDF reports, 7 to 10 pages long, and then you have ebooks, which can be anywhere from 10 pages long to 100 pages long. But those are all good candidates for e-magnets, or I'm sure say lead magnets. The advantages are, number one is that these are usually easy to produce with a word processor. You go ahead and create it, hit convert to PDF, and then you're set to go. And they also are simple to deliver. Most people know how to click a link, and then that link can automatically start downloading their white paper or their report, and they're good to go. The disadvantage is that right now, these types of lead magnets have low perceived value, unless you really just pack them full of valuable information. So a special report is not going to be perceived as a $50 value. Okay, it's going to be perceived as, a $1 or $2 or $3 value. Some people may say, hey, it's just free. It has no value because they've seen it in so many different places. So you're going to have to combat that. If you're using a white paper or a report as your main lead magnet, you're really going to have to spend some time up front letting people know what's in it and why it's important and why they want to give you their email address to get it. The next thing is videos and webinars. Now, the advantages here is that there's very high perceived value. Okay, if I say that I'm doing a webinar, I often have many people flooding to get onto the webinar and get one of the 100 seats because they perceive it as high value. They hear me talking, they hear me show things on the screen. They kind of instinctively know that a lot of time goes into pulling together a screencast like this, a webinar like this, so it has value. Okay. But the disadvantage is that it's more difficult to produce. You can't produce a webinar like this one in just an hour worth of work. It usually takes me for a webinar like this, it usually takes me about 4 to 5 hours to pull it together. Okay, but it's worth it because it has a high perceived value. Okay? If you agree with me so far, you're tracking with me so far, just go ahead and type in amen so I can get some feedback from you folks. You're probably all sitting out there furiously writing notes. Thank you guys. Awesome. Now, let's talk about discounted services or free consultations. And I'm surprised that more people don't use free consultations. I've literally built the consulting side of Pushing Social with free consultations, but there is kind of an art to it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But discounted services are also a form of a lead magnet. Okay, so the advantage of it is that it's very high perceived value. If you offer a free consultation, people know that you're giving your personal time, and they really understand that, and they put a lot of value on it. Same thing with discounted services. If it's discounted, it means that it has a regular price and people can see the value that everybody else is paying for it. So I think that's a key piece. And it's relatively high conversion. Across the years, I've seen free consultations pull in anywhere from 10 to 20% conversion, sometimes even higher, meaning that if you get 100 free consultations, if you do 100 free consultations, you're going to see 10 or 20 of those people turn into customers. And if you're able to get it down to a science, okay, and you're able to do these consultations on a regular basis without a lot of work, then that's a really great way of kind of jump starting your business using this type of lead magnet. Okay, and a person normally doesn't really mind if you email them or send them to actual paper mail or even call them as a follow-up, because you have given your time during this free consultation. So it's a very high ROI activity. The disadvantages is that you must be willing to deal with tire kickers. You're going to get a fair amount of people who will try to ask you as many questions as they can and get as much out of you without even intending to purchase or even review your services. You just have to understand it, deal with it, and move on. That's just part of doing business. And understand that if you're looking at a 10 or 20% conversion rate, every other marketing technique usually gives you a 1%. So you already are ahead by just getting a person on the phone. So that's how I kind of deal with the tire kickers. And you're trading hours for money, which is not a good long-term strategy if you want to scale your organization. So as the owner of your business, you're not going to be able to do these free consultations forever. You're going to have to find a way to transition into them either to other staff members or to a passive type of activity, automated activity, where you are actually not trading hours for money. So realize that this is a short-term strategy. I don't do many consultations right now because that was great for kind of jump starting my business, but it's not a long-term strategy. Okay. One other thing, if you're running a blog, I also offer free consultations just to see what my readers are looking for and the type of information that they find valuable. Okay, so I use them as intelligence gathering opportunities as well. So that's something to keep in mind. So with your lead magnets, to create them, you're going to use the same process as you did last week in creating your products, but you're going to put half the content in there. Okay, so last week we talked about creating these products, and they were huge. Okay, they're big products, a lot of value. Okay, but with a lead magnet, think of it as a trial, think of it as a tester, an appetizer to your product. Okay, so you're going to put in half the content. Now, I don't mean that half the quality, just half the quantity. All right, so you still want to provide a lot of great value here, but you can trim it down so you can actually get this done. And you're not killing yourself trying to create these huge lead magnets. They're just appetizers. Okay, so let's just walk through the workflow as a review of last week, and just to kind of bring you up to speed on what you need to do to pull together these lead magnets for you. Okay, so in this case, when we're talking about special report or ebook, we're talking about 3 to 4 pages versus 7 to 10 pages or even more for a product. Okay. So this is definitely a quick hit. Now, for most of the folks that I work with, it's very hard for them. It's easier for them to write a 7 to 10 page product than it is to write a 3 to 4 page special report or lead magnet. I understand that because you really have to cut things out and you have to be very concise, but realize that that's going to help make sure that your reader actually gets through your lead magnet and goes on to the next step with you. So the workflow I use is that you can write your report in Google Docs. I just learned over the last week, one of you folks let me know that I said in the last webinar that Microsoft Word, at least the version I have on the Mac, does not convert to PDF, but I've heard that if you're using a PC or a different version of Microsoft Word, it will convert over to PDF and retain your hyperlinks. So you may want to check that out if you have Microsoft Word. Don't get warned off yet. Check it for yourself. So I would write the report in Google Docs because I know that that's going to convert my URLs in my report over. Edit and proofread it. And then you want to format it, create a table of contents for it, add your page numbers, and place a URL for your site in the footer of each page, or place an offer in the footer of each page. Go ahead and create your cover. This is a great example of a cover over here. We talked last week about using Box Shot King, or there's a variety of other people who provide these similar services. Just type in eCover Creator in Google and you'll get a nice list of those folks at various different price points. The next thing you want to do is insert your cover as the first page of your report so the people can see the connection between what they probably saw in your blog versus what they get in their email. And then the next piece is that you save it as a PDF and upload your finished PDF to your web server. Or if you're fancy and you know how to work with Amazon S3, for example, you can load it to Amazon S3 and people can download it from there. Okay, and then you give the link to the finished PDF to your subscribers and your buyers. So that is just the workflow for a special report or ebook. For a video, just to review the workflow again, in this case you're talking about a 10 to 15 minute video versus a 30 to 45 minute video, okay, for a product. Now you won't be seeing me do many video lead magnets because quite frankly folks, it's impossible for me to video anything that's less than 15 minutes, but it is a great tool to use as a lead magnet. High perceived value. So you're going to write your script, and I like writing a script versus winging it because it cuts down on the ums and the ahs and the filler words, and it really helps with your editing afterwards. You record your script in Audacity or GarageBand or the audio editor, audio software of your choice. You create your slides, based upon what you recorded. Okay, so you actually record everything first and then go back and make your slides. I like doing it this way so you're not spending your entire video just reading off everything that's on your slides. Okay, you're telling your story and your slides are supporting your story. I think that's a really good way of going about creating that compelling content. You want to save your presentation as images, and the reason why I say that is because you're able to take each of your individual slide images and then pull them together with your audio and your video editing software. I use ScreenFlow for all of my video editing, but you can use Camtasia or Screencaster or whatever video software works well for you. But you can pull your audio, pull your video in, and then sync them up. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to export your video to MP4 or MOV format so you can go ahead and upload it to your video host. YouTube I spoke about. There's Wistia or Vimeo. I use YouTube because it's easier to use, but that's totally up to you. Okay, and then you want to get the embed code from the host that you're using and use that to place your video on your blog or website page. This is the process that I use for creating my videos, and this is the process you should use just in miniature for your lead magnet. Let's talk about discounted services and consultations as a lead magnet. Now, I'm going to give you tips here because you're going to construct your service or your discounted consultation in the way that makes sense for your business. But let me give you some of the tips that I've learned from doing, I would say right now, I've done about 150, 160 free consultations, okay, in building Pushing Social. Here are some of the things that I learned. Number one, you want to price the service, put a value on it. Okay, so you want to say that your 30-minute consultation is worth $50, okay, and you're waiving the price of the consultation. It is not free. Okay, and I learned this kind of the hard way. I would tell people it's a free consultation and people wouldn't put any value on it, so they didn't really know how to determine what my price was or my fee was or what my worth was. But when I told them that, listen, I charge $100 an hour, or it's gone up to $200 an hour. When I charge that, when you see that I'm giving you a 50 or you're getting a 30-minute consultation, now you understand that, wow, I'm getting real value by taking a half an hour of his time. If you are offering consultations, you definitely want to use that. Okay. Next thing is you want to identify the problem, the person's problem that you're talking to, okay, and quickly offer ways to solve it. I go into every consultation not with a mind to sell something, but with the mind to offer some quick answers to some problems that's really getting under the skin of my reader or that lead. Okay, it puts me in a servant role first, and people respond to that because when you're just are focused on solving their problems, then they warm up to you, and that creates a great platform for expanding the relationship. The next thing you want to do is automate your scheduling with TimeTrade or BookFresh. And what I mean by that is that I offer people with TimeTrade or BookFresh, they give you a link that you can give to or you can put on your blog, or you can put on the email that you send to people when they want to schedule time with you. And what that does is when they click on that link, it opens up a calendar and it will show them all your available times that you've configured through TimeTrade or BookFresh. So they actually can pick a time that works for them. So you're not playing that back and forth scheduling battleship game with people. You literally can just watch your calendar fill up with people who want these consultations with you. So that's a great service. It saved me tons of time. You should take a look at TimeTrade or BookFresh. They both work very well. Next, you want to write a 5-minute pitch for your main service that you will give at the end of every presentation. So I always tell people when I get to the end of my consultation, I go, let me tell you, can I take 5 minutes of your time to tell you about some of the things that I can do for people like you or businesses like you? Most people will give you that time because you've given them 25 minutes or 45 minutes of your time, and they'll be more than happy to listen to the pitch, especially if you gave them great value. Okay, I say write that 5-minute pitch so you can make it better. Give it the same way every time, and when you make a change to it, make sure that you pay attention to the changes you're making and the response you're getting. And then before you get off the phone or before you end the discounted service call, make sure you have their contact details and ask them the question, do you mind if from time to time I send you an email or I send you something in the mail, or I actually give you a call to let you, just to make sure that you're okay and see if there's any other ways that I can help you. I think that's a nice touch and allows them and lets them know that you're going to stay in contact. That will cut down on spam complaints or people reporting you to their ISP because you've sent them an email at a later point. If you respect those contact details, then it's a good idea to go ahead and get their permission from there. Okay? Great. I really love consultations because they really work well. So you may want to find a way to kind of work that into what you offer. Okay? So let's dig into the nuts and bolts of setting up an autoresponder. Okay? So autoresponder setup. First of all, when you set up your autoresponder with your email service provider, make sure that you use a double opt-in. Use the double opt-in option. All right. And double opt in just means that a person has to confirm that they want to receive information from you. So it's not good enough for them to simply give you their email. They have to give you their email, and then they'll normally get an email in the mail where they have to open up and confirm that they want to receive information from you. Some of these services insist very strongly on you doing this. I've gone both ways on this. Now I tend to always ask for double opt-in, just so I can protect myself from those fees or those fines from a CAN spam complaint. So it's important. So use double opt-in. And some services like Infusionsoft, and I think there's rumors that Aweber does this as well, is that they will send your emails faster when you do a broadcast if you're sending to double opted in people. Okay, so that is something you may want to take a look at. Ask for email on your form. So your opt-in form, always ask for email, and only ask for the first name if you have a use for it. Okay, now it is well documented that the less you ask for, the more conversions you'll get, and that means that in most cases you'll see people just ask for email. Now, I personally like asking for first name because I use it everywhere in my marketing. I like the personal approach, okay? But if you do not have an immediate need for first name, don't use it. Go ahead and make sure you get those opt-ins by just using email, okay? And once you set up your autoresponder, you have messages that will automatically go out to your people as soon as they get into your list, right? So here are the 3 messages I suggest that you send. Number 1, immediately when they sign up, it's welcome, and here is your special report, or here's the page where you can watch the video, or this is the link you need to click to schedule your free consultations. Okay, you guys with me? So that is your very first thing that you want to do. All right, and that should go out immediately. And the second thing that you want to do is that you want to send out an email message about 3 days after that first email went out that says, I'm just wanting to check in with you and just make sure that you got the content that I promised you, or you got the report I promised you, or you watched that video. And by the way, here's some extra information, or here's some additional information that I think that you can use, and then hit them with some great content. Okay? Your people are going to be watching. Most people are going to be watching for that second email to have some sort of badly presented offer. Don't follow that script. Give them content. Show them that you care. Okay? And even though I automate this process for my marketing, you would be amazed at how many people write me back and say, hey Stan, I know that you're probably doing this automated, but I really appreciate you checking in with me. And I always answer those emails, by the way. So I think that's important. The third thing you want to do, and that's about 3 days after you've sent out that checking in with you email, or about 6 days after they've opted in, you offer them something. Okay, don't be afraid to offer them something, but make sure that it's super good. All right, don't offer them something that is low value. Go in there and just pile on the value and let them know that the offer you're making is especially for them, and that you've given it some thought and you want to make sure that they get the most value out of it. Okay, that core sequence of 3 messages always works. I've used it in the automotive industry. I've used it in the B2B. I've used it with B2C. It works. Okay, so you definitely want to give that a try. Most people don't send more than 1 message. Okay, so sending a couple of messages is already going to give you a higher conversion. So let's talk about your email autoresponder messages. What are some tips for using the email autoresponder? Number 1, be conversational. All right, don't sound like you're a corporate CMO. It may make you feel a little bit better, but it's going to bore your readers to tears. And quite frankly, people are looking for that stilted corporate education or corporate communication, so they can get a tip or get a hint that they should ignore you. quite frankly. So be conversational. Act like they're sitting right next to you in your email message. Err on the side of value. Okay, so if you're not quite sure what you should say, give them advice, give them a recommendation, point them towards a tool. Always give value, always lead with helpful content. Okay. And if you're going to make an offer in your email autoresponders that follow up to your lead magnet, only make offers that they really have a hard time saying no to. Okay. Great offers don't require pressure selling tactics, okay? These people who kind of bend your arm to breaking to get you to buy something, they're doing that because their offer sucks. All right. I had a really cool person, I really got a really cool email from someone who actually is taking this side income workshop. And they said, Stan, when you promoted it, it was such a no-brainer. Of course I want to do this because you gave me so much value. And I really didn't sell this, okay? And I'm not selling it very hard. It's just something that I feel like is a great offer for you. So kind of take that cue. Only make no-brainer offers. Stay in contact with ongoing messages after the third one and make a point of making an offer every fifth message. Don't be afraid to give great value and to sell great products to your list. I can't say that enough. You've earned that right by giving them great content, okay? And do it every fifth message. So this is what it looks like. So your first 3 messages are those core messages, okay? Delivering their lead magnet and then checking in with them and then making that offer, okay? The next thing is you're going to provide them with content on the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th message. You follow that up with a great offer, a no-brainer offer, and then you repeat it. Offer, then repeat it. So you go through that sequence all the way, okay? I've been on a list for over 3 years from a person that I really respect, and he has been giving me new content for the last 3 years, okay, following this sequence, and it works. I must have spent $5,000 over the last 5 years with this individual. So this process works. The key to this, people, is that you need to keep in contact with your leads, okay? Most people do 1 or 2 emails and then they don't talk to their list for another 2, 3, 4 months, and then they send out an email trying to offer something. People go, who is this person? Why is this person emailing me? Because they forgot that they signed up for your list 2 months earlier, and then they unsubscribe, and then that person usually says, well, email doesn't work, and then they move on to something else, okay? It doesn't work because you haven't taken the time to send emails. Now, out of curiosity, if you're on one of my lists and you've been getting emails on a regular basis from me, go ahead and say yes here, because I'm just curious about how many people are actually in a similar email campaign to this. Okay, so yep, thank you. Yep. So, and I remember a lot of your names too from being on it because I make a point of sending that information out there. Okay, so you can use those emails as kind of a model that you can follow. All right, let's talk about landing pages. All right, so if you have any questions about the email autoresponder section, make sure you throw them into your chat box. I'll make sure I get to them as they come up. But the email autoresponder is super important. Okay, so let's talk about landing pages. Here's a landing page that one of my clients has put together and actually helped her put it together. And I just wanted to give you an example of this. This is actually at clarification.com. It's C-L-A-I-R for clarification. And it's done by Claire Axelrod. And here are some of the key pieces on your landing page. And this is an example of a promotional landing page. Number 1. You want to have a really good headline on your landing page, okay? And in this case, it was the keys to nonprofit blogging that drives engagement. I like this headline because, first of all, it speaks to her audience, which is nonprofit marketers, okay? And it's specific. It's talking about nonprofit blogging and it offers a benefit. It's a good headline. The second thing is that she has a video or a graphical representation of the webinar. In this case, it's just showing the screen of the first slide of her webinar. At least people can kind of get a feel for what they are going to get or what they're going to consume. Okay, the next thing is, in the third area here, is she gives a really good, no hype, benefit focused description of what she is going to offer during this webinar. So she says it includes easy steps that you can take to make your blog doable, and a super investment of your time and resources. A very good is a very good benefit. All right, and she actually throws in something a little bit extra here, which is afterwards you may find this worksheet handy as you plan your blogging strategy. So she's giving some great content, some great value before the person actually signs up for the video, which is a good strategy. And then she has a very simple webinar. She has a very simple opt-in form here. Okay, so you can sign up for it right here. You don't have to click anywhere else. You can sign up for it and you're on your way. And I think this is a great example of a good, compact, and tight landing page, promotional landing page. So moving on, then you have thank you page. You don't want to waste your thank you page. Okay, so in your thank you page, when I say don't waste it, you can see here that Claire has done a great job of including another offer, which is basically to sign up for her updates for her blog. I like that because a lot of people forget that their thank you page is actually an area where they're delivering the report, and usually people will look at that and kind of go, oh yeah, I'm downloading this great blogging resource guide, I might as well sign up for updates or blog updates. So I think that's a really good thing to do. All right, so the key pieces here is that you're delivering your product and you're asking for those updates. Okay, and this is actually on a page that looks like over here, I cut this off, but she actually has other offers from her blog, which again I think is a really good strategy to use, and actually Claire is doing quite well with this strategy. All right, so the last piece I want to go through is promotion. Okay, how do you promote your lead magnet? Where do you do it? How do you do it? Okay, so from a promotional standpoint, the first thing you can do is put your lead magnet opt-in form directly into your sidebar, okay, of your blog. And here, this is from Claire's blog as well, and you can see that she has that free webinar, and you actually can sign up for it right from the sidebar. Okay, she has her landing page, so she can offer a link inside of her blog post that can send people directly to that landing page I just showed you. But she also has this in her sidebar, and I helped her set this up. Okay, now getting your opt-in form into your sidebar sometimes is super difficult for people. So as a bonus for you, I've actually created 2 videos showing you how to put your sidebar or put your opt-in form from MailChimp or Aweber into your sidebar. And it's actually a lot easier than you might think to do this. And one of the questions I just got was, what WordPress form plugin did you use? Do you recommend? And actually in this case, I just used the widget that comes standard with every WordPress instance. Okay, so this is just a widget. Okay, and I just pulled over the Aweber form into that widget, and in that video you'll see how I did that. Okay, so it's very easy to do. No plugin. I don't like to use plugins if I don't have to, because plugins sometimes crash your blog or slow it down. So if I can use the native software or the native methods with my WordPress instance, I like to go ahead and use that. But I digress. Your sidebar is a great place to promote your lead magnet. And the next thing you want to do is that you can put your lead magnet form after your post. Okay, so this is up here is an actual regular blog post, but at the end of every blog post she has this lead magnet promo, okay? And she gets a fair amount of people who sign in from this area as well, okay? And I'm putting together some video to show you how to do that easily as well. And on Pushing Social, just so you know, this is my second most used or second highest converting way of getting people to sign up for my lead magnets and get on to my email list. The very first way, the most effective way, is using something called a welcome gate. Okay, so if you have when the first time you came to Pushing Social, it's likely that you got this page that came up before you actually got to the blog itself. And this is just a welcome gate that offers you the 4 video series that I offer. And if you click on the watch now, it would ask for your email address, and you can provide your email address, and then you're given the information to access the 4 video course. This by far is the most effective way of getting new email subscribers into my list, and everyone I've set this up from love it. Okay, this only shows one time. Okay, so if a person comes back the next day, they're not going to see this again. This doesn't interrupt them, and if they come back the next day, they only see it one time. Like I said, it works really, really well. Okay, and this is called a welcome gate, and I'll give you a link to how to get this welcome gate. Is actually a part of a software program called Lead Pages that's offered by Clay Collins. I talked about that in a free bonus training that I gave you guys last week. So this is a feature of that I think it works out really, really well. So that's it for today. We went through how to set up your landing or your lead magnet types. We also went down through some of the ways that you can create your lead magnet, how you can set up your email autoresponder, as well as how to promote it. So we went through a lot of material tonight. As always, go ahead and download your action checklist. Is actually already up and ready for you. I got ahead of the game tonight, so it's up for you there, as well as those bonus videos on how to use MailChimp or how to get your MailChimp or your Aweber opt-in form into your sidebar. That's up there. I'm going to be putting some other goodies up there in the next couple of days or so. And I will have the recording of this webinar ready for you tomorrow. So log into the membership area, grab your bonus training there, grab your presentation slides, and the video replay will be up tomorrow, and we'll go from there. You guys have a great week. Talk to you later.